Hey friends, today I am bringing you the woman. I am her number one fan. This is my friend, my colleague Jessica, and we're here to talk about different transitions in life. I know, Jessica, I've been following your newsletter for years. Your newsletter, your wisdom has gotten me through so many hard times. I remember lying in bed during chemo and binge reading your newsletter because I was just I read it seven different episodes because I hadn't read them because I was going through treatment and all this stuff. Yeah. And I remember oh my God, I just one after the other after the other. And I remember you wrote this article or this newsletter about the tree that was growing on its side. And I don't know if you remember that article.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that I'm okay, I'm literally lying in bed, on my ass. And I'm I can't get up. I can't move. I feel way too sick. And I remember thinking, I'm okay, I might not be the tree that's upright right now, but you know what? I can grow sideways and
Totally.
life goes on,
Exactly.
And, oh my God. Cause yeah, the thing that one of the things I'm so passionate about, and I know you and I have chatted about this, but is I've been an entrepreneur my entire career. And the one thing that I know for sure from my own life, from my friends, from my colleagues is we're not trapped by mechanics generally of money or marketing. Yeah, okay, those are factors, but ultimately it's so much of what's in our head that keeps us trapped and stuck. And one of the things that's so inspiring about your work as a midlife doula is how openly you share your story and how relatable you are. And hold on a second, this is going to be edited, so don't you worry.
No
We
worries.
will, yeah. And so let me just do your intro. So people I know you're amazing, but let me just read this. Jessica describes herself as a midlife doula by combining her training and expertise as a therapist, health coach, and menopause coach. Oh my God, I totally need that. She is able to support women as they navigate the many challenges of midlife, including physical changes, relationship shifts, career challenges, identity struggles, and the stresses of being stuck in that sandwich generation. Oh my God, so relatable. In working with her clients, Jessica strives to create safe, non-judgmental space where women in midlife can express their whole selves, the good, the bad, and the messy, and then encourages and guides them as they discover clarity and purpose while also gaining control over the physical and emotional well-being. It's so beautiful. Oh my God. You can learn more about her at jessicabraider.com. And oh my God, okay, so many things I want to ask you, but let's start.
Yeah.
The first question is so many women seem to launch their businesses in midlife. And first of all, I guess the first question is what do you define as midlife? Because
Yeah.
to me, I feel that's always been something I love that term, but tell us more. What is midlife? What is your definition? And also, why do you think so many women launch businesses in that part?
Sure. Absolutely. So I define midlife as actually really broad, long phase of life, sort of your mid-30s to your mid-50s or even 60. And we tend to think of midlife as just perimenopause and menopause and sort of that transition. But the truth is so much is happening at that time of our lives, whether it's your kids are getting older and you're starting to think about your new life, whether relationships are shifting or career shifting, caring for aging parents, there's just so much happening. And it's also though the time when I think we women sort of step into ourselves in a new way and really start to think about what it is that I want to leave for this world. And what is my legacy going to be? And I think that's why women launch businesses in midlife is we're asking all these sort of bigger questions. And a lot of times when we look around, we can't find the answers we want, or we see something that we wish was out there. And so we're going to fulfill it and we're going to be the one to do it. And that's the power of midlife that I love so much and just excites me so, so much. And then the other factor is time. If you have kids, they're probably getting older, which means you have time that you didn't have before to explore and try new things.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. You have teenage kids, I have teenage kids, I have three teenage kids. And so it's so funny whenever you write your newsletter about your sons and how they eat and you have to hide the food and you have to your son's going to university. And I'm that's just my life right now. And it's because I had three kids by the time I was 30. So I'm 45 now. And I look back on it and I'm my oldest is 19, my youngest is 16. And it's just now I feel I'm getting the first little glimmer of I can make my own choices. Do you know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
okay, I'm 45 and I was kind of talking to a friend of mine the other day and it's it's a 20-year run from the age of your youngest child.
Yeah.
Wherever those 20 years are, whether it's so, my 20 years started, let's say by the time I was 30, which is pretty correct. And then my youngest again being 16, but it's my boys now, my older two, they can both drive, they do their own thing, they make their own plans. It was so funny. My son came home the other day and he'd gotten a haircut and he's 19. And I looked at him and I'm this is the first time in your life I haven't booked you a haircut. He booked his own haircut. And I was oh my God. And I was like, this is happening with his own money. It's like, what's going on right now? And it was like,
Exactly.
and as well, it's like when you're not driving your kids to school every day, it's like that's 20 hours a week. For me, it was like 20 hours a week of driving.
Same. Yep.
That's a
Same.
part-time job, just driving people places. And it was like, oh my God. And it's sometimes, I don't know about you, Jessica, but like for me, like I look at my life, I look at my growth in my life, and I sometimes feel very like disappointed in what I've like been able
Hmm.
to fiscally achieve, or like the growth of my career and all these things and these goals I haven't hit. And I'm like, well, it's so hard to remind yourself that it's like, okay, if you have a priority of your family and you have a priority of being present and being around, it's like sort of are in until that midlife, until you got some freedom, like it's probably not going to happen for you. Like
That's right.
unless if you're the type of person who's like, for me, I've never really worked more than 30 hours a week. I always wanted to be with my family, and but now it's like this little glimmer, and I'm like, oh, wait a second, like wait a minute, like no one's home, like
I
wait a minute,
know.
like I can focus. Like I don't know, do you feel like that too with your boys?
Absolutely. And it's like both heartbreaking and exciting, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm so excited for them and so proud of who they're turning into. And then there's part of me that's like, no, I need more time.
My babies.
And then 5 seconds later, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need more time. Like without you, like go away, go away. I gotta focus more.
I know, right? It's just like, I know it's like planning Mother's Day, you know? It's like, I don't know about you at your house, but it's like Mother's Day. I'm like, you know what I want for Mother's Day? I want you guys to clean the yard. That's what I want for Mother's
Yes.
Day. I want, like, I don't want
Same.
presents or flowers. I want someone to go to IKEA and buy some plastic bins and clean the garage. That's what I want. You guys are all big and muscular and working out. I'm like, clean the damn garage.
Yep. Totally.
I'm so happy I have big kids, you know? I don't have to like, but no, I completely relate to that because I feel like a lot of women who are moms, I'm just going to say pick moms for example. It could be
Yeah.
anything, like any sandwich
Yep.
situation, but it's like, you know, sometimes we count ourselves out, right? We're like we can't achieve like maybe our colleagues without
Absolutely.
kids, or like, you know, we feel we have so many more demands on our time, you know, like I look at, I know your sons play sports as well, but like when my
Mm.
sons play sports, and so like every week I go to his game and I like stop my day at like 3 o'clock, which is fine, but I go to his rugby game and I watch him, and then we come home and I make dinner, and then I have to drive my daughter to tutoring, and it's just like that's my life. Like I can't work longer than 3 o'clock. So you hear women who are like working in the evening and like working in the and you're like, I don't
I
know, like
cannot do that.
yeah, and sometimes you just feel like you fall behind, you know, and with
Yes.
all the women in midlife, it can be a really exciting chapter. Like you said, it's that bittersweet, right? It's like, it's sad because we don't have babies anymore. Like every time I flip through my phone and it's like 15 years ago today, and I'm like, chokes me up. I'm like, here's my son. I'm pushing him on the swing, and now he's 6'2", you know, and you're like, how is,
Yeah.
but oh my God.
Totally.
So, like, what do you feel like, in your opinion, as a therapist, as a professional, as a mom, as a woman? Like, what are some common obstacles you find female founders need to overcome?
So I think that there are both internal and external obstacles. So in terms of external, I think that our personal lives, when we're caretaking, whether it's sandwich generation or one side or the other, those can really get in the way. I think that relationship shifts, which often happen at midlife, can really take up a lot of time if you're getting divorced or something like that. Like, who knows? That's a huge time suck. So those are like big obstacles that are external. But then I think the internal ones are the more sort of insidious ones, I would say. And those are the limiting beliefs that we have.
Mm,
Um, and so, and oftentimes those have been with us for decades.
yeah.
And in order to take care of those, we have to heal these deep wounds that we have and really work with our young selves and think about our young selves and repair the broken self-confidence and repair, all of those sort of impediments that we have internally so that we can then step into that inner strength that we have and really embrace it.
Can you give some examples from your work where you see this or what you've seen?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, for instance, I have one client who recently got moved without her consent to a new position in her organization. And the new boss that she has doesn't really listen to women, doesn't really like pay attention very well. And she found herself sort of stuck. She had really stepped into her, like we've been working together for years, and she'd really stepped into her strength. And all of a sudden she felt intimidated again. And she realized that it was all about messages from her dad that she got as a young girl. And so we had to work through that and work through the fact that, this guy's not your dad. And also, your dad was wrong. And like, let's really step into who you are and look at all of the progress you've made so that you can have that kind of confidence. And like another example is a woman I know who I work with who was getting divorced. And that there was the time obstacle, but there was also the emotional obstacle of
Mm,
I have failed. And if I've failed in one aspect of my life, I must have failed in others. And so helping to sort of heal that narrative, change that narrative so that she really could see all that she was doing.
yeah. No, it's so true. Like, I'm divorced. I know you're divorced. And it's like,
Yeah.
I was reading this. I used to work with this coach, and she was saying to me, she was like, women in their, like, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 45. And it was like, women in their early 40s, they just, like you said, they hit this point where they're like, enough. And like, I want what I want. Like, I don't know for you, but that was my feeling. It was like I was with my ex-husband for 15 years. And like, we probably should have split up like years before we actually did. But when we actually split up, it was like, I was terrified. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know, like, I didn't really have any money. Like, I had been a stay-at-home mom at that, more or less to that point. And I didn't know. I didn't know what was going to happen. But it was like that pull to like want what I want and give myself permission to want what I want was so strong. Like, literally, I was sleeping on someone's couch to be able to handle it, to be able to get it, And it's so true. It's like we hit these moments where we're like, no, I won't. And I had coffee with a friend of mine yesterday who's like thinking about separating from her husband. And she's been with her husband like 25 years. And she was saying, we just don't want the same things anymore. Like, we're not the same. Like,
Yeah.
I've grown, he hasn't grown. And it could be either way, right? Like, the woman hasn't grown. I'm not picking on men in any way. But, and we were talking about that, and she was feeling like a lot of like religious stigma. And it could be about anything, right? It could be about whatever it is, like if you have kids or don't have kids, or like divorced, not divorced, or religious changes, or whatever it is. And I was like, and one thing we were talking about was, I'm like, you're allowed to change your mind. Like, because you made this choice, like I got married when I was 25, and I was like, you made that choice, but who's to say you're not allowed to change your mind? And who's to say, like, I totally get what you're saying about like, I failed, so I'm a failure. It's like that labeling. It's like we self-label something that like okay, for example, like a divorce. Okay, let's just stay on that vein, right? So
Yep.
okay, I failed at my marriage, I therefore dot 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 must be a failure. Like, I know for me, I had to like really work on making sure I didn't do that to myself.
Yep.
Be like,
Yep.
okay, this relationship didn't work, or not that it didn't work, it had run its course. Let's say it didn't work.
15 years is a
Yeah,
long
it's a long
time.
time. And he's a great guy, and I have like no regrets. I have 3 beautiful children, and like no regrets, right? But it's like I am allowed to want what I want. And that phrase to me has like gotten me through so many hard times. Like, I am allowed to want what I want.
Yes.
And it's not bad because, like I grew up in a really strong Catholic family, and it was like, so divorce was kind of like very taboo, and, no one in my family, and I was like, I'm allowed to want what I want, and that's okay. And that's badass. It's badass to stand up for what you want. I don't know, just like, can you share, would you mind sharing a story from your own life of where you've had to
Sure.
like
Sure.
overcome?
Yeah. As you were telling your story about your divorce, it sort of made me think of mine. And similar to you, like, we chose as a couple to really prioritize our family and closeness in our family. And so I ran an online meal planning service and health coaching business, but it was really, really part time,
Mm,
so that I could be really present for the kids. And when we split, all of a sudden financially, I was in a really scary place. And I remember talking to my therapist about it, and being like, I failed. Like, I always thought, I mean, I'm Gen X woman. Like, I always thought that I was going to be this like businesswoman, full time mom, full time everything. I could do it all, and it was going to be all successful.
mhm.
And I was saying to her, like, I feel like financially I've failed because I don't know what I'm gonna do. And she was like, you didn't fail. What you did was raise your children, and your children are look at how great they are. Like, the work that you did allowed you to have the freedom to do that. And that's worth more than any amount of money.
Oh yeah.
And now they're independent and they're strong and they can take care of themselves in a lot of ways. So you get to have that freedom to dive into more financially lucrative
So true.
opportunities. And so, yeah, no, what you said totally echoes. And also, my parents have been married for 57 years. They got married when they were 18 and 20 and engaged
Wow.
at 16 and 18. So like
Wow.
I had no model for divorce. And so all I knew was it was a failure. And so
Mm.
to unlearn that message and to not compare myself to my parents was a really hard one that I had to overcome.
Yeah, I think divorce, separation, or whatever, it's so stigmatized. And it's like, I remember like, well, I have being the age that I am, I know a lot of my friends who are like also considering divorce, and they stay in these situations that they hate for their kids or for their parents or for their faith or whatever. And I mean, I probably shouldn't be, I should be the last person they talk to, because I'm going to be like, you get one life, man. You get one life. Because I don't know. And
Absolutely.
I'm not using this podcast to like support getting divorced, but it's like, if you're in a transitional point in whatever, in your career, in your relationships, in your whatever, it's like one of the things that I learned even more, like, because I finished breast cancer treatment last year, and there's something about like, and this sounds very dramatic and very melodramatic, but there, it's like you said, legacy, right? Like you begin to think about, okay, I get one shot. I get one shot. Am I going to use this life that I have for whatever purpose? None of us know. Everyone has an opinion, but none of us really know. It's like, am I going to sit here and live my life with someone that I don't even like? Like, is that fear stronger than my vision for what I can create in my life? Like, I don't know. I think it's just an important question that we need to ask ourselves as women, right? Because it's so easy to people please, and we're trained for that. Like, we're trained to people
Yes.
please and like support and don't rock the boat and like go along. Like, we're trained for that. And I think in so many ways that's an asset, like women are generally amazing
Absolutely.
communicators, and we can like are a lot more empathetic and all these different things. But at the same time, it's like you do only get one shot. And so it's like staying in a situation you don't like is the fear of making that change, or the stigma, or the fear of like, what are people going to think if I make this change? Is that going to be your what controls you?
That's
Right. And
right.
I just, it's hard to watch. Right. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and I think that also at midlife, as we were saying, like you start to discover your strength. And when you discover that strength, when you discover those beliefs and that desire for something bigger, you realize how small you may have made yourself.
Yeah.
And that starts to feel so constraining. And so I think a lot of women, whether it's a marriage or a job that they've been in for 20 years, or identity in some other way as a daughter or a mom or
Yeah.
whatever, they start to push, and it can be really scary to push because it's all we've known. But if we don't, then we're shrinking in. And I don't want any woman or man to feel like they have to be smaller in
Yeah.
order to fit.
I agree. I know I have this poster in multiple places in my house, and it says like, it is safe to take up more space. And
Love that.
I had to learn that because it was the same thing. Like, I grew up with a bipolar parent, and you just learn, don't rock the boat. Like, don't
Yeah.
rock the boat. Like, nothing is worth it. Like, keeping the peace. Like, I had 5 younger siblings. So I was the oldest child. And there was a lot of times my mom would be like crying somewhere in the house because she was just fed up dealing with my dad. And I would have to step up. Like, I would have to go to
Yeah.
bat for like protect my siblings. I remember I have memories of like standing on like blocking the banister for like so my dad couldn't go upstairs and like yell at my siblings. And like, so I learned, like you said, like from the beginning, like these hardwired fears
That's
that
great.
like, so I would share this story because a lot of people who see me online, they think, oh, you're so brave and you're so vulnerable and you're so this and your content. And I'm like, I could not create content until a year ago. Like,
Yeah.
I remember there was times like during my early 40s, like I was like, okay, I'm going to say something. I have something to say. I want to say it. And I hired some coaches, like content coaches.
Mhm.
And one of the women who I was working with, like, I remember it was like a 6-week coaching package or something. And after week one, I'd paid it all up front, and I was going through her content, and I would like having panic attacks, like, and physically ill from doing this. And I couldn't do it. And I couldn't get over myself to like create a piece of content, no matter what it was, like writing, video, audio, whatever. She gave me my money. She gave me my money back. She's like, you suck. Like, was basically what she was like. She was like, you can't do this. I'm not taking your money. She literally gave me my money back because I was so afraid. And it wasn't until I started working with a therapist like a year ago, or maybe over a year ago, and she was like, you're hardwired to not rock the boat.
That's
Like,
right.
you are hardwired to like keep the peace. Don't do anything that's going to make somebody mad, because you will have hell to pay. Like, and people are going to pay the price for you rocking the boat. Like,
Yep.
and I was like, holy shit. Like, and it was one of those things I'd never thought about, but it was like, and now I can say whatever the hell I want to whoever I want. But it wasn't until I knew I could figure that out. Okay. Like, it wasn't my skill or my talent, or I was never shy. Like, I wasn't like, I just couldn't do it. And so like,
Yeah.
what do you think, like, Jessica, like, how do you begin to heal that? Like, with someone who is stuck, negative beliefs, messages, trauma, like, you as a therapist, like how do you help them heal and get through that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, your story is so powerful of what your therapist said to you because I think that really is at the core of it. So I like to give a little bit of a history lesson about trauma
Yeah, do it.
when I talk about this because culturally, when we first started to really recognize trauma as a thing was World War One and it was shell shock, right? And it was all focused around men in war and the trauma they experienced, which is real. I'm not trying to discount
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
But those are specific instances of trauma, like a bomb going off
The big
or seeing someone die or whatever, right? And so pretty much all of the work until very, very recently that's been done on trauma has been focused on single events and how do you repair from a single event. And now women can obviously, and many men too, can obviously experience specific event traumas, whether it's sexual assault or
mm,
some form of violence or whatever. But we also are within the context of a patriarchy, which means that there are smaller traumas that have happened, whether it's, men being intimidating on the street or, you know, having to think about whether you can walk from your car to a door at night, things like that. And so there are many more layers to unpack. And in order for women to do that, they really need to rewrite their story and really think about that. And your therapist gave you permission to see the truth for the first time. And then my guess is that once that wasn't the end of it, it wasn't just like that day, you're done, right? Then it was thinking through what that meant to the establishment of your psyche, what impact that had, and then learning how to tell a story that is empowering about that, how you were a survivor of that, how you all the ingenuity and thoughtfulness that went into you protecting yourself and your siblings. And as we then rewrite those narratives, we start to see our strength and we start to see the ways that we can then be badasses in other parts of our lives.
Yeah, like one of the things that's in my process of becoming a trauma informed coach, like one of the things that I think is something we don't talk about and it makes perfect sense is like you're saying the acute trauma, like single incident, like I was raped, I like killed somebody, I'm whatever it was. And it's like, we've all, I think culturally have associated the word trauma to, like you said, to a thing, to one thing, right? But there's so many, this is what I like to talk to women about is like there are so many types of trauma. And I remember too, I was working with the same therapist I was working with, and she said to me, she was like, you've had you grew up in a very traumatic situation. And I was like, no, like I was never abused, like I was never hit, I've never been sexually abused, I've never had like any kind of racial discrimination, I was like, I've never was never in a gang, like I was never
Right.
bullied. I'm like, no. Again, like connecting trauma to single incident trauma or like
That's right.
something really severe. Like again, severe is by definition or by subjective, right? It's totally
Yep.
subjective. And it's like, and then I started to kind of learn, and I'm just going to say this in my own words, but trauma is anything that kind of like sets your life, like you can't be your truest you because of things that are
Yeah.
blocking you, right? And that's not the technical scientific term for that, but it's
Right.
like I think like one of the things I love to talk about as well is that education of like what is trauma? Like trauma could be, it doesn't have to be you were a child soldier or you
Exactly.
survived a fire and your sister died. No, it can be like
That's right.
any, and it's like can be ongoing trauma. Like for
That's right.
example, like I'm sure you can relate to this too, but it's like, living with my dad for 20 years, that's like complex PTSD. Like you
That's
come
right.
out of that situation and you are afraid to make anybody mad. Like the amount
That's
of
right.
money in my agency I've lost on scope creep because I could not say no to a client because I was afraid they were going to get mad at me.
Yes.
I don't even want to know how much money that is. Like I don't even,
Absolutely.
like it freaks me out to think like it's hundreds of thousands of dollars of how much money I've just let slide because I couldn't stand up for myself. And
That's right.
yeah, and it shows up everywhere, right? That people pleasing or that, sometimes like like what we, for women, I like to, from the reference of women is like, there's so many behaviors that are so lovely, like we're accommodating and we're patient and we're kind and we're all these things. But it's like so often, like we're always the last on the list for everything.
That's right.
Like I think that's again how we're conditioned, right? But it's like, okay, looking at, okay, are there behaviors that really do not serve you? And one of the things I hate, and I would love your opinion on this, but it's like, there's this book that I tried to read like last year, and it was all about self-sabotage. And like
Mhm.
self-sabotage is the reason you're not where you want to be. And I always like threw it against the wall because I'm like, this is such bullshit. Like, it's not this is the thing that women like, or I'm just saying women, it could be anybody, right? It's not something you're doing consciously.
No,
Like, this is the part I
absolutely.
hate about the word self-sabotage, because it's like you don't know you're doing it.
That's
Like,
right.
I could have been creating content for 20 years. I couldn't do it. And I didn't know
That's
why.
right.
I just thought
That's right.
people who did were narcissists, or they were just like blah blah blah. Like, but I
Yeah.
wanted to and I couldn't. And it's like, so if you've like, as a woman or whatever, I guess my PSA soapbox is like, if you think that where you are is 100% your fault, you are wrong. Like,
Yes.
just like, what do you think about that? Like the whole term of self-sabotage, or
Yeah.
so
Yeah, no, absolutely. Self-sabotage implies an intention. It implies that you are doing this knowingly.
totally.
And the thing about these limiting beliefs is that we believe they are true.
Yeah,
It is
exactly.
not, it is, and I have a client I'm working with right now who truly believes she is not good at anything, nothing in her life. And so we have been working on changing that narrative. And I mean, incrementally,
Mm,
like one of the things that we worked on was like, she was like, I'm a terrible housekeeper. Like, I can't do anything. I can't even fold sheets. And I was like, all right, your job this week is to learn how to fold sheets. Like,
you
that's
can
it.
teach me after that.
Right. And so she then, like, when we checked in the next week, she was like, I realized, like, I'm never going to fold fitted sheets. I was like, girl, me either.
No
I
one
do
told
my
her to
laundry
teach.
and then I put them right back on the bed but she
No one
needed to
can.
like go through that and realize that like she had a decision she could make and that was not a failure on her part. It was a concrete decision that she got to make. And I think that like for a lot of women, as you were pointing to, like there are these limiting beliefs. It's I'm not smart enough, or I would, like you said, I would be a narcissist if I suddenly got in front of people and started speaking or writing. Or I don't know how to do X, Y, or Z, and I can't do anything else until I master that one thing.
Yeah,
That's when I see a lot with women is like, well, I can't
listen.
possibly start my business until I'm like, I know how to do social media and I know how to write a newsletter and I know how to do bookkeeping. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, 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 no.
No, no, no,
You
no.
got to just start, right?
Yeah,
Or like my idea is not creative enough. There are all these, and when we have these, we believe they're true. And so and that's why like it's not our fault.
yeah,
It is not our fault. And so instead, what you're doing, what I'm trying to do is like lift women up so they can really see how much strength there is there in just surviving what they've survived.
totally.
And then what a gift that is to then give to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one message I just wish I could like strike from like the self-help vocabulary is like, because we don't know. And it's like, I'm sure you've been to a workshop and it's like where they're like, list your limiting beliefs around money. And you're like, fuck you. Like, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. Like, we don't think that. Like, it's
That's
not
right.
something like, oh, you know what? I know this is a limiting belief. It's like, you don't know. And it's like one of the things, like, I don't know if you know who Jen Sincero is, but she wrote this. She's this author and she's hilarious. I think you would love her, but she's got this series of books called like You Are a Badass
But
Doctor.
yeah, yeah.
Whatever. Right? I've listened to
Yeah.
her audiobooks like, oh my gosh, she's so funny. So I always listen to her on audiobook, but like, I don't know, dozens and dozens of times. And she talks about how like the way to like drive out and then I want to hear your theory for your philosophy for like how to overcome limiting beliefs. But like one
Yeah.
of the things to your point of like being afraid to start is like she has this expression. She's like, taking that step is really what's going to drive out all your fears. Like
Yeah.
for example, like, and I'd love to hear a story from your life too. But like when I was diagnosed with cancer in stage 2 cancer in like September of 2024, I can't believe it's that long ago. Oh my God. I was like, no genetic history, no smoking, no drinking, no family history, like nothing. Like I forgave and I journaled and I aligned. And, I did all the things, right? I didn't like, I was super fit. I didn't eat a lot of sugar, like all the things we think, right? That are like
Yeah.
cancer causers or whatever. Anyway, so I was diagnosed with like aggressive stage 2 breast cancer. And so I went in, I was diagnosed, and within like 5 weeks of being diagnosed, I was scheduled for the bilateral mastectomy, chemo, the whole bit, right? And my oncologist told me, she's like, look, she's like, you may not be able to work. Like, you need to figure this out. And I was like, shit. Like, I'm a one income household. Like, to your point about money, like, I'm like single income
Yep.
household, 3 teenagers who grocery bill is like, I don't even want to stay online. Like, it's
Terrifying.
ridiculous. It's
It's
terrifying.
terrifying.
It's like someone's full-time job, just feeding 2
Yeah.
teenage boys. Like,
Yep.
I
Yep.
don't even look at my Visa bill. I'm like, oh my God, I go to Costco and I'm like, I'm just going to close my eyes and pretend I'm not This is not
I
happening.
know. Costco is the best and the worst,
Oh my
right?
God. I'm like, oh my God, Costco could like, oh my God, they have so much of my money right now. That's okay. And so the oncologist, she said to me, she's like, okay, you need to, like, you won't be able to work. And I didn't know. So I just kind of took her word
Yeah.
for it. Right. And I was like, my God, like, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to
Yeah.
do? And I've run my own business for 10 years. At that point, I had 14 people on the team. Like, I had a lot of people counting on me for their food and rent. And I had been running this business. And I was like, I hadn't like, I had no exit plan. I had no like
Right.
onboarding, offboarding strategy to bring in an ops person. So anyway, so I like called the most competent person I knew. I knew she was an amazing project manager. And I'm like, she knew nothing about what I did, or like, she wasn't a technical project manager because I work in the dev space, right? And I'm like, look, can you just cover me through treatment? Like, and she was like, absolutely. And she's like, look, and then her budget was like $5,000 a month. And I was like, oh my God, like, how am I going to pay my team, pay me, pay all my bills, pay her, and not work? Like, that sounds like a great plan. Like a
So
fantastic plan.
scary.
I was so scared. I was so scared. But I was like, what's my alternative? Like, I didn't have another source of income. Like, I can't not. So I went to the bank and I got a loan and for like $30,000 to like at least, if nothing else, to cover her pay to just get me through treatment. Right. I'm like, okay, if I come back and we're bankrupt, I'll have to deal with that then. But like, I can't shut this down. Like, I can't shut it down because there was nothing else. There was no other money. Right. And I remember that moment of me like deciding to sign her contract or not. And the terror of like, this is not happening, like just flashing before my eyes. I've got like this family. There's like my partner and my kids. Like, I am the main breadwinner in my family. And and then I'm like, no idea what cancer was going to be like. I was so scared of all the surgery and all the chemo. And then, okay, like, how is this going to happen? And my team, like, how's my team going to react to somebody new, and my
Yeah.
clients, and what's that going to be like? And then when am I going to train this person? And like, if I'm going into treatment and training, and and we did all my training, like I was like high on meds or on my ass from chemo, but it was like, so sorry. I always apologize for that. I'm like, I'm so sorry. But it was like that process of moving towards something
Yeah.
so scary is what
Yeah.
drives your fears out.
That's so
When
true.
it's like it drives it out. So like, so for women who are listening to this and you're afraid of taking that first step, we all are. Like, we all are. We're all afraid of every step. Like, Jessica, I'm sure
Every step.
every step, like telling your husband
Yep.
you want a divorce, that's like terrifying.
Yep.
Or like, I have a daughter with special needs and like handling this and all these things. And it's like every single step is scary. Like, I think people don't realize that. Like, they look at people who are quote unquote doing things or brave or showing up, and they think that it's easier for them. I'm like, it is not easier. It's just like, it's to your point of like, I talk about it. It's like our capacity to handle stress, to process trauma, to process fears. Like, I was raised in a family with like no money. Like, we were like a food bank family. Like, the church would bring us food sometimes. Like, my parents had no money. We had like a car repossessed. You know what I mean? Like, it was just a bad situation. So at the point of hiring her, all my like so much of my financial
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
came out. But as these beliefs are driven out, we are then given the opportunity to look at them and to heal them,
That's
right?
right.
And it's like all my money fears. I'm like, oh my, like, how am I gonna
Yeah.
dot dot dot? And then you look at it, and I remember looking at like, what is my mind telling me right now? Like, oh my God, you're gonna
Yeah.
go bankrupt. Your team's gonna like hate you. Like, your clients are gonna drop you because you've got this new person, and how am I gonna pay her? And then I'm gonna have to lay her off, and she's a one income household too, and she's gonna hate me and my kids. And oh my God, how am I gonna feed my family? And it starts coming out and coming out and coming out and coming out. It's like pushing. I always look at it like it's like pushing a pimple down. Like, you like push it, put the pressure on the
Yeah.
red dot under your skin, and then all the pus like comes out, and maybe there's like some ingrown hair stuck in there, whatever. It's like, it's kind of a morbid, disgusting example, but it's like that pressure is like pushes all the fears out,
Yeah.
and then we're giving a chance to heal them. But like, I mean, that's my like disgusting long example of how I recommend like facing and healing fears, by like literally running into the thing. Like, but how do you do it? Like, you're the actual professional. You have a much more elegant answer, but how do you help women like heal these fears and this trauma?
Yeah. I mean, and I think that I really love what you said about everyone is scared and you just have to do it. And I think that is, something that no one actually really comprehensive. I mean, I still to this like I look at you and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, she is like the biggest badass. Like her business is amazing and like look what she did getting over cancer." Like seriously, these are like I could never be that strong, right? And
Well,
then
that's
you
not true.
pause and you're like, "Wait a minute." After and but this has taken me years to like
Yeah.
learn to pause and
Yeah.
challenge it. And that's one of the things that I work with women a lot on is like you have this story, these limiting beliefs, these fears. When they go through your head, stop and just look at that and say like, is this real?
Yeah, exactly. You have to
Is it
stop.
actually true? And if not, okay, what can I do to move past it? If there is some piece of it that's true, can I still move forward imperfectly?
Totally.
And that's the other piece is like, it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be ideal. Just like there's never a perfect time to have a kid, or there's never a perfect time to buy a house, or there's no like these big things in our lives. There's never a perfect time. We just have to jump in. And once we do, we realize that we can do it. But
Totally.
like, I will say that, you were talking about my newsletter, and there are weeks when I just write it and I throw it out there. But there are a lot of weeks, I would say at least 10 times a year, where I am terrified to
Yeah.
press the send button
Yeah.
because I'm exposing something in myself or I'm, sharing something that I think is going to piss people off. And those are the ones that I get the most responses to
Totally.
every
Totally.
single time. And so like just trusting your gut, trusting that what you know is true can be real is a big one.
Yeah.
Some other like smaller ones that I think one that I've been doing for I don't know, probably like 10 years now is as a solo entrepreneur, like a lot of the time I'm doing this all by myself. And like I have a developer who I work with but they're all contractors. I don't have
Mhm.
anyone on my team. And like that, I am the one I am really responsible to. And so I started doing this thing where I have an accomplishments jar on my desk
Mm.
and scraps of paper. And every time I finish something, especially something that was scary for me to do,
Mhm.
I write it down, I fold it up, and I put it in that accomplishments
So
jar.
good. So
And
good.
over the year, I see it build. And then, like at the start of the next year, I empty it and I do it again. And what I do is sometimes when I'm at those really scary moments, when I just am paralyzed, I will pull out those accomplishments and look at them
So
and
good.
remind myself, like, you've been here, you can do it again. It's
Totally.
just doing it again.
Yeah.
So that's one that like is free. Everyone can do it. It's great.
Mhm.
Another one is to find an accountability partner or like a mastermind group. And it doesn't have to be run by someone big and famous. Like I've organized masterminds just with friends who are also entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
And I have an accountability partner I meet with every other week who's like
That's so
a
good.
guy in a completely different industry than me, but we just hold each other accountable and check in, like, and challenge each other's fears and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And then the other is if it's all really too scary, find a partner,
Yeah.
find a business partner, find that person who can complement you and do the things that you're more scared to do so you can really step into things you feel really great in.
For sure. I think people think like confidence is like a light switch, like you turn it on and turn it off. And it's like exactly to build on what you were saying, like confidence comes from competence. And
That's
it's
right.
like, okay, when you know you're good at something, like I don't know, I personally don't believe in fakeness in any way. I mean, I fake boobs now, like because of the mastectomy and stuff, but like, and I fake nails, but like fakeness in terms of from the inner game. I don't think you can fake that.
Yes.
Like, I think it's like if you know you're really good at something, like you're gonna show up differently, and I think like I love this other expression that I love, and it's like okay, to be you got to be bad to be good and good to be great, and it's like
Mm,
you don't just start at great. You start at
absolutely not.
bad, like bad as
Absolutely.
hell. Like, I don't know. I
Yes.
look at some things that I've done in my life and I'm like, oh my God.
Oof.
Like, I recently started taking this dance class and like post surgery, I had my final surgery in January. And so, like, my whole like situation now, it's like just like scars and, it's just the whole thing. Right. And I was like in bed for like off and on for like 16 months. And I'm not off, but I was just like, not working out, and before I was super fit and like just like whatever. And so I like came back after my final surgery and I'm like, you know what, I need some sort of way to like reconnect with my body and have some fun. So I signed up for this like dance class, like this heels dance class. I'd never danced in heels before, and I was like,
Amazing.
it was like a dumpster fire, like for sure. Like even last night I was at practice and like the teacher, she's like, okay, Natasha, like, do you have a neck injury? Because like you're definitely not moving your head right. And I was like, no, I don't have a neck injury, but like I'm better than I was 6 weeks ago, and we
That's
have a
right.
show in a month and I'm better than I was. Like I could barely look like do anything in heels that high before. I'm like
That's
5 foot
right.
10. Like I never wear heels. And but it's like people want to think they look at the person dancing on stage or whatever it is, like speaking or writing. I remember you told me one time, you were like, I have written thousands of newsletters. Like that's why they're so good. And I'm like, yes, exactly.
That's
If
right.
you were to go back to your beginning newsletter, you'd probably be like cringing and dying
Oh,
and being
I
like,
don't ever want to
how
look
did I
at it.
possibly put this in the world thinking it was good? But people like think that there's some sort of magic. Like it's like no, there's no magic. You just start when you suck. Like
That's right.
you have to suck at this. And it's just like so much of like the game is courage, right? It's like I'm going to show up and I'm going to suck at this in public view. And I think that is can be a huge trauma point right there. Like things like failure and
Absolutely.
perfectionism and all these things, but it's like to the voice like the message is like no anybody who's good at something once upon a time was terrible at it. And there's no
Oh,
shortcut,
yeah.
right? Like
That's
there's
right.
no shortcut. And
No.
I love
Yeah.
the story that you told. Like, I mean, there's so many stories I can think of, like when you did your bathroom reno. And I remember reading that story and I was like, the fact that she like attacked a bathroom renovation project by herself with like no experience in like however many trips you made to Home Depot, like I don't even know. But it was just so funny to me because I'm like, she tackled the bathroom reno. Like I would never do that. But
Right.
you probably were like scared and like I don't know, like tell me that story. It's so funny. Like I love that story.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So when we moved into this house, the master bath is like, it's a big, beautiful bathroom. But the guy who owned it before us was a guy in his 70s who lived by himself. And so it was
Yeah.
super masculine, super masculine. And it had this atrocious giant poster of like a Tuscan landscape on it. And the worst of the worst was he put a giant mirror over the faucet for the bathtub. So when you stood up after having a bath and you were all like pruny and stuff,
Ew.
you just saw your, it was horrible. Like I never took baths. Like I stopped taking baths because it was just
Ew. Ew.
traumatizing.
Ew.
So when my ex-husband moved out, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do like I'm gonna make this bathroom my bathroom. And when my kids went away for Thanksgiving, I was like, this is the weekend to do it. And then I got the flu. And so I was super sick and like trying to figure out colors and trying to do all the stuff and trying to finish it before they got home from their trip because I was using their bathroom and I sure as hell didn't want to share a bathroom with two teenage
Ew.
boys.
No. No.
Yeah. And so I mean there was one day where I literally would like paint for 15 minutes and then go lie down for 45 and then get up and paint for 15. Like it was brutal.
Yeah.
And but then like I did it
Yeah.
and I
It looks
love my
great.
bathroom. And
Yeah.
every time I walk into my bathroom, it's mine and I made it. And I just and like do I see that there's like paint smudges I'm not happy with? Yeah, I see them. But at the same time, it for me it's a symbol of like my claiming this house for me.
Yeah.
And that means so much.
But you
So
didn't know how
much.
to do it at all.
Nope.
No
No.
idea.
Yep. No.
Yeah. I remember like how many trips did you
YouTube, it was
say?
my best friend.
Yeah. And how many trips did you say you went to like the store?
I got like 20 or something. I mean, it was
Like, what are
ridiculous.
you doing over there?
It was ridiculous. Yeah. And, being a woman walking into Home Depot and having to be like, I need like this kind of pipe fitting, and them looking at me like I was completely
You're
batshit
like, what size?
crazy
And you're like,
did not
what
help,
size what? Oh, but you did it. Like, that's the point.
but I
Like, the
did
whole
it.
moral of that story is like, you have to just, even if it takes 20 trips to Home Depot, you just do it and you
Yeah,
face that fear and you get it done.
exactly.
And then I'm sure there's gonna be other home rental projects. Like, I could never
But
handle
yeah, I have a list. I'm like, now I'm like, I can do this.
I love that, but that's exactly it, right? Like it started with a bathroom. It didn't start with a kitchen. It started with
That's
like an
right.
ensuite bathroom and you did it. And that's the moral to the story is like we start, we're scared, we get help. We like, and it's just there is no elegance to becoming good at something. Like it's messy and a dumpster fire like most of the time. So yeah, in wrapping up, like Jessica, tell us more about being a midlife doula. What is it that you do? How can someone contact you? Like
Yeah.
yeah, tell us more about your business.
Sure. So I used to call myself a midlife coach, and that I realized wasn't a good description. It really is a midlife doula because
Mm,
just like a birth doula or a death doula, like I'm helping women through a transitional time. And that transitional time is not just physical, there as we were talking about earlier, like there are all these other changes that happen. And so like to think of myself as kind of like the center of a wheel, and then like I can help you to connect all the pieces, the physical and the emotional. And so guide women in this super supportive, empowering way so that they can figure out what are the priorities for them? How do they then accomplish those? And I hold women accountable.
Mm,
Sometimes I'm like your bossy best friend where I'm like, I love you, but you're bullshitting me. Like, don't do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But it's incredible work, and I love it, and I love seeing what women can do once they embrace the support that they can get.
Yeah,
It's super inspiring.
it's super inspiring. So tell us about like the ways that you work. Is it like always one-on-one or is it group coaching or like tell us more about what you
Yes.
do?
So for the doula work, it's entirely virtual, so I can work with people from anywhere, and it's one-on-one. I also do run groups
Mm,
every once in a while. I've done them both online and in person. So if you're in the DC metro area,
they work
you
off.
can come to an in-person one, but I
Yeah.
also do them online. And those are really empowering for women because they hear stories and they see themselves and they realize they're not alone in all kinds of different struggles. So, and in those groups, I'm really like walking you through the midlife journey. So there's a week on physical changes and there's a week on relationship changes and a week on career, and so that you can really address all of the different pieces that go into this amazing time that's midlife.
Yeah.
And I just love it. I mean, I am so grateful I made it to midlife, and I'm
Yeah.
so grateful that like I get to then step into this supporting role for other women who are coming into their strength and power.
Yeah, it's like whenever like someone like is in their 40s and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm 40." I'm like, "This is when it starts." Like, I don't know, it sounds
Yes.
so cliche, but it's like you're tired of the bullshit. You're ready to like, do you like per se, right? Yeah, like, and it's such a big shift. Like, it feels to me like so many times I would have defined midlife, like you said, anywhere from like 30s to like, it's not like, oh, midlife, like I'm in my 45 years old. No, it's like any point of like transition and needing that navigational support. And like, because yeah, like when we hit these moments of like, whether it's a disease or raising children or with our parents or like our relationships or a career, like you need someone to be like, hey,
Yeah,
like I'm in your corner, right? I'm
that's right.
here to like facilitate like you going through this experience and or like yeah, it's so beautiful. And for those of you who are
Yeah.
not readers of Jessica's newsletter, I would say like yesterday, subscribe, number one. I don't know, you're my favorite. Like I never read newsletters,
Thank
like
you.
never. Like I always unsubscribe, but I can't wait for Saturday because I know it's gonna be like Jessica. I'm gonna get you a newsletter and stories about your puppy and your family and you're like I'm just like shit, like every week it just says something to me that I'm like yes, it gives
Thank you.
sometimes it's courage to like show up like ever on Monday and be like, even though I want to just like stay in bed and cry sometimes, but
Yeah.
amazing.
So
Well, thank
yeah,
you.
jessicabraider.com. You can sign up there and check out more about all that I do.
I love it. Anyway, well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
If
having
there's
me. This was
questions,
so much fun.
oh my God, you are like I said, you're like I'm if I'm not your number one fan, I would definitely say that I'm your number one. Unless there's something else that I don't know about. Your kids, I guess, and then maybe probably your parents, and then now I'll be the next one. But yeah, no, you're a rock star and I love what you're doing. So thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
And
Thank
I know
you.
we'll talk again soon.